I just see a lot of isolation and loneliness in the world.
Our society is so fragmented.
Social media kind of gets in the way of community.
The problem is disconnectedness. I can connect to a Facebook group or an Instagram tribe. It's kind of going for that longing.
We don't really get that deep sense of connection by sitting in front of a computer screen.
Well, we shop on Amazon now. You know, most of the time we don't shop locally.
It's not the same kind of connection that you get from human interaction where you get to interact with someone.
It's so easy to be a part of a neighborhood and never know people around you.
A new entity within the Navigators.
Called Navigators Neighbors.
Their whole mission is just to really be in and among people, develop relationships in the places that we naturally go.
John and Steph Winder, they live into the very fabric of their community.
We started out by trying to learn everyone's name that we could.
We actually made a map of our street, drew out each individual house, and as we got to know the neighbors' names, we wrote it down.
And any other kind of pertinent information that might come up in the conversation, just so that we could see them again, know their name, and follow up with, some sort of dialogue. Those were some intentional things that we did. Intentionally going out on the street when we saw somebody walk to the mailbox and introduce ourselves. And it was going to take us initiating.
So the first time we met James and Cheryl, we pulled up to the house, and then we noticed that their barbecue is in the front yard.
I find myself asking and answering the question, what does it mean to love my neighbors?
Somehow, I don't know, James, he just started volunteering randomly around the neighborhood. And then he goes, I'm gonna have a front yard barbecue.
I think back to the very beginning, whenever I went and I walked out to the front and I invited my first neighbor into the yard. I just remember Cheryl going, James, what are you doing?
And I'm like, you're crazy.
We don't know those people.
I don't want to be a part of it.
I'm just inviting a neighbor to come to the barbecue.
And I was working, I came home, and there was a bunch of random people in our front yard that I didn't know.
Not everybody likes to get out of their comfort zone, so there's a lot of that, how's this gonna go?
My next door neighbor, Joe, was a part of all of the early barbecues.
I'd say about the second bite of a burger. It was all good.
Probably the best example of intentional living would be the farmer's market.
It's a place of gathering, it's a place of fun.
And so naturally people gather there.
What is your name?
Kate.
Kate, I'm John.
John, how do you
Nice to
I'm
meet you,
Steph.
Kate.
Good to meet you. What's your name?
Alicia.
Alicia, I'm Steph.
Hi, Steph.
There became this excitement of getting to know all these different people that were doing all these different things. And as a result of that, we got to know certain vendors. And about a year later, got to know a vendor, and he sells cheese. And he asked if I could sub in here and there to help him out.
Hi, how are you?
It's intentional FaceTime with people
But they're all mix and match, 2 for $10.
in a very natural place.
Have you tasted it? No. There you go.
It's led to a lot of open doors of communication and friendship.
I think the biggest key that I saw that James did was just listening to the neighbors and figuring out what they wanted. He would just hear and listen to them talk. Somebody wanted a street painting. They're like, I think we should do a street painting. I think that would be really cool. Well,
We began by bringing together as many neighbors as possible into the design aspects, and collectively we decided that the mural should be a picture of us and what we were becoming.
but that whole process brought the neighbors together closer. And every other year we have to get back together and repaint it.
This neighborhood is one that I would say has been historically fragmented. And just that mural and the activities around there has been one of the things that has glued this neighborhood together.
Probably around the same time as we decided to be intentional at the farmer's market. I have been a swimmer my entire life, and I became reminded of the importance of actually coming at a very specific time every day. And there is a core group of swimmers that come at 5:30 every morning. I'm amazed at how many conversations I've had, whether it's in the locker room, whether it's in the showers, whether it's standing in front of my lane before the lifeguards are ready. You can have a lot of life and share a lot of life with people. But being intentional every day, that adds up.
Cheryl just loves kids, so she's been like the Pied Piper of the neighborhood.
I have the coolest Hot Wheel collection in the neighborhood. We had a group of kids next door and they would come over and just have fun playing with it. Now I race down the hill with my roller skates and they ride their bikes. It's fun.
I know hospitality can be overwhelming and you feel like you have to have your house perfect and all put together, but you'd be amazed. We've had soup nights have been a really fun thing that we started doing. Like just make soup and then everyone comes over to that house. Again, you bring your own bowls and spoons, so cleanup is minimal. You literally just make soup. And it's a place where our neighbors have just sat and gathered, and our one neighbor is asking, when are we gonna do that again?
Through Navigator Neighbors, one of the things is the idea of things that you would normally do in your backyard to your front yard.
So a friend of ours inspired us to build a yardin, which is a front yard garden. When we're out doing our gardening, all of our neighbors, we see them walking by.
It has created so many opportunities because we're out there in the garden, working the garden, and we see everyone that comes by.
On the street that I live on, there was a vacant lot.
For years, that lot is just sitting there empty.
It became kind of a homeless camp for a while.
Why don't we turn it into a community garden? You know, that's another example of a space where we can come together, grow food, meet our neighbors.
Another thing that really helps take conversations from surface level with your neighbors to a much deeper level is when crisis comes in.
The farmer's market has a market coordinator, and she takes care of just overseeing everything. And this one particular day, I saw Rebecca, and she just looked really downcast. And I was like, Rebecca, are you doing okay? And she said, no, my mom just died. And I just gave her a hug and she cried on my shoulder. I feel like that really took our friendship to another level, and it gave me a reason to follow up with her.
When crisis comes, because it does come for everyone in this life, when it comes, am I in a position of friendship that we can talk about it?
A few months ago, my grandma, who we've been caretaking for 5.5 years, passed away. Neighbors would see us and give their condolences and then ask, hey, can we do anything to help? And I said, yes.
That has opened the doors so much to just us being vulnerable with them when we have needs.
It's really interesting to me that in Jeremiah 29, Jeremiah says that God planted them in Babylon.
And in that passage, it talks about planting gardens and building houses and engaging with the people of your place.
And the thing that he sums up is that
when the city flourishes,
you will find flourishing.
And it was so neat to see the community come alongside of us.
And they brought us meals and they really comforted us in that season.
I think in that time, it also gave us the freedom to say where she went. She's now with Jesus, and I felt complete freedom to share that with my neighbors.
And since then, we've had 5 other deaths on our street where we've been the ones that have been able to engage with the neighbors in grief.
What he's calling us to do is to be faithful in the place where God has planted us. That means sowing seeds, watering, loving, caring, and the result of that will be fruit.
I'm not equipped. I don't think any of us are equipped, but I'm able to just be available.
This is what Jesus modeled. He was intentional, and people were what he cared deeply about, and that's what I care about too.